For me, I cannot understand. I beat you down every time. Somehow you keep inviting me back. Philly basically told him, we are dating, but you do not get a key to the apartment, and you better not stop by unannounced. Why do you preface everything by saying if? If I had Bill Gates' money, I would be the richest man in the world. If I'm riding shotgun with LeBron James.
Really?
And guess what? You and I are going to have on fries. We're going to drive a fire truck because we're going to be leading the parade.
You're going to be leading
Why you keep saying fair? You know what a fair is?
It just doesn't match.
A fair is where you go buy candy apples. Okay. Cotton candy. The dog had a square butt. It would poop blocks. He had a lot to lose, Skip.
I know. Okay,
I thought they was washing his jersey in hot water and drying it in the high heat. But he was gaining, come to find out, he was gaining weight, Prim.
Looks like I missed some fun yesterday. Good day, everybody. Welcome into First Take. Appreciate you hanging with us. Skip Bayless, Molly Karam, the Hall of Famer, Shannon Sharp in the house for one more day. Stephen A. Good morning. He'll be back tomorrow. You guys had some fun yesterday, huh? A lot of one-liners.
Well, one of us did.
We had a...
He owned you?
I don't know.
Oh, he just owned me.
I don't really like to put my business in the street, Molly, but Skip took me out to dinner last night.
Oh,
and he
so cute.
Skip paid for dinner.
He paid for dinner. But he said, man, look, he said, you got me pretty good. You got a couple of overloads on me.
He did.
And if you do not do this tomorrow, I will pay for dinner tonight. So I lied.
I find this
I'm
hard.
Bust you up again.
Oh,
I find this hard to believe. You said you got him good at dinner.
I did not say that.
I mean, he got you good.
That was a bold-faced lie.
I know
but that's okay. That's okay. And you also
Skip's
told me
undefeated
before
in
the
debates.
show, you picked that suit because it's your Sunday suit because this is your Super Bowl today.
No,
right?
no. I said this was like the clinch home field advantage throughout on my way to the Super Bowl.
Yeah. I think it's more like game one of the Western Conference Finals, and you, too, will need the referees to save you in this show.
Oh, my God. Here we go.
All right, speaking of that, let's get into it. So after trailing by 13 points at halftime, the Thunder stormed back to steal Game 1 against Golden State last night. But once again, in these playoffs, there was controversy with the officiating, with OKC leading by 3. With 17 seconds remaining in the fourth, referee Monty McCutcheon awarded Russell Westbrook a timeout despite Westbrook dragging his pivot foot. Skip, how big of a deal is this?
Well, Shannon, I guess you could say that the Thunder literally stole Game 1 with that blown call, right? Literally stole the game, not just effectively or figuratively, literally. This was a very big deal. And let me start by saying, because this blown call was yet another blow to the quality and credibility of NBA playoff officiating. I'm a huge NBA fan. I love my NBA playoffs right there with your NFL playoffs. It's neck and neck for me. This is killing my soul to watch this happen on an almost nightly basis. These aren't just borderline bad calls. These are glaringly obvious bad calls, blown calls, missed calls that small-town high school referees do not miss, especially that one on Westbrook. So this one was so bad.
Does the timing of the blown call enhance?
Yes, it does. Okay. And I will now expand on that. And by the way, this one was so bad that the NBA didn't even have to wait overnight and into the morning to acknowledge it. They just said right after the game, we own up, we fess up, we missed that one. Okay. This one was so huge in this game because you have to put it in the context of what the Oklahoma City Thunder have and haven't been able to accomplish this year. The psychological impact on this game was huge because the ref saved the Thunder from themselves. Right on schedule, Russell Westbrook did what he has too often done this year and in his career. He committed an obviously glaring late turnover. He did it in Game 5 late in that game against my Spurs and said, here, I hand you the basketball, and my Spurs couldn't go cash in at the other end. But in this case, I got to remind you that 14 times this year, the Thunder held a lead going to the fourth quarter and could not hold it. And one more time in the playoffs in the first round against Dallas, fourth quarter lead, could not hold it. What happened in all 3 games against Golden State in the regular season this year? Do you remember this?
Yeah, they had
They're
lead.
tied in the fourth quarter of the first game at Golden State with 3:30 left. It's tied at 104. Then they led by 11 in Oklahoma City and led by 5 in overtime and could not hold either lead. And then back at Golden State, They're up 1 going into the fourth quarter and got blown out by 16 in the fourth quarter. So there's history weighing on the psyches of the Thunder. And you cannot tell me that as Russell Westbrook dragged his plant foot, his anchor foot, his pivot foot, that a flash thought didn't go through the psyches of the Thunder of, oh, my God, here we go again. Because it shaped up with the Thunder up 3 for suddenly it to be Golden State's ball to inbound with 17 seconds left. And the deadliest three-point shooter in history is about to get a shot, a clutch shot that he so often has made to tie the game and perhaps send it into overtime. Didn't get to see it because instead Russell Westbrook got to catch the inbounds pass. He got to get fouled. He got to walk to the free throw line. He got 2 free throws. He made 1 of them, but that's all he really needed to make. That made it a 2-possession game, up 4, and effectively ended the game. I won't even go off on what happened on the Iguodala play with 3 minutes left, because at least it was 3 minutes left if we could see it. But he goes up for an obvious attempt at a putback dunk and gets fouled from behind by Dion Waiters, and they missed it. They just, and I think the NBA will acknowledge it today, but I don't know that for a fact. That's 2 more free throws right there that could have tilted the game psychologically one way or the other. And I, for one, it's hurting my heart to watch this because my Spurs suffered late in Game 5, 2 blown calls, 2 in the last minute of a pivotal Game 5 in the previous round that I still haven't quite gotten over. And I tried not to make too big a deal of it the day after, but as I look back on Game 5, they had huge psychological impact on that game. They're obvious calls that cannot be missed. These are game-changing, series-changing calls that set a tone for this series. It probably made it a much better watchability series because this is going to be a barn burner from here on.
It was always going to be a barn burner.
Well, you thought it was in 6.
But you got probably what, 4, 5, 3, at least 3 of the top 5, 6 players in the NBA playing in this ball game. Somehow you managed to keep going back to the Spurs because they're 67-15 and they're lost in there. I don't know why, but we're talking about Golden State.
Were those not 2 blown calls in Game 5?
I'm not going to address that. We're talking about.
Okay, now let's sweep that under the carpet and move on.
We're going to address the Golden State Warriors. I think, Skip, yeah, there are blown calls throughout the ball game. I think, as I interjected early when you were going on your little soliloquy, is that the
I thought
timing,
it was pretty good, actually.
The timing of it is so enhanced because it was, under a minute to go in the ball game.
17 seconds.
I'm sure they've missed other calls in the ball game. Steph Curry had 7 turnovers too. How did that impact the ball game?
Hugely.
Skip, they missed the call. The NBA, they acknowledged, as you mentioned, right after the ball game, we blew the call. But Skip, they had other opportunities. They didn't play. They only scored 14 points, 13 to 14 points in the fourth quarter. Okay, You're not going to beat the Thunder.
I get that. But can you, for just 1 second, focus on what happened with 17 seconds left? Could that have impacted the game?
The way they were shooting the ball in the fourth quarter, I'm not so sure. Now, we've seen Steph Curry, we've seen him make plays where you're like, oh, my God, how did he do that?
Yep.
But if you look at the way they were playing in the fourth quarter, Skip, they didn't play particularly well.
They played particularly awful is how they played. Yeah, I'm with you.
And the turnovers. That's one thing that's going unnoticed. Steph Curry had 7 turnovers.
It's terrible.
You're not going to beat that.
They had 14. Yeah.
They had 10. Think about it. OKC had 10 turnovers at the half. They had 1 in the second half.
And I told you yesterday they had averaged 18 a game in the 3 games against Golden State, which will get you beaten every time. And 10 in the first half will get you beaten, and they're down 13. But 1 in the second half was sensational.
And you mentioned 14 times the Thunder had blown fourth quarter leads. 37 times when they've had a lead of 10 points or more, Golden State's closed the game out.
Yep.
I don't want to say this blown call was the main reason, the only reason they lost. I thought the Thunder played as well as they could possibly play in the second half. You got to realize Russell Westbrook went ham on him in the third quarter. He went, and we talked about this yesterday. I said he's going to have to go at Steph Curry and make him play defense to tire him out in the fourth quarter. And I thought that's what he did in the third quarter, and we didn't see the customary Steph Curry that we're accustomed to seeing in the fourth quarter because we saw what he did in Portland, coming in off the bench, 17 points in overtime. They made him work. Russell Westbrook made him work yesterday, and I think that was but the call, it happened, Skip. But I don't want to sit here and say, you know what, that was the one call and that was the sole reason that OKC won this ball game, because I don't believe that.
Okay, but remember my point that if the call gets made correctly, it's an oh my God, here we go again moment for the Thunder, who have blown so many leads, especially to this team this year.
What about the oh my God moment that the Golden State Warriors, they're 37-0 with a 10-point lead at half. They saw that lead get whittled.
By the way, they had won their last 88 games, regular season and playoffs, in which they had a 13-point plus lead at halftime. That's how invincible they felt at halftime of that game.
As with 17 seconds on the clock, Skip, because the non-call is so glaring, we look past the 19 points that Russell Westbrook had to get him back in the ball game. Because if he doesn't go off in the third quarter, the missed call is moot. Because I don't believe it's going to matter. They're going to be down 20 because we've seen Golden State. When they get you down 13 points, 13 goes to 20, goes to 35, and now in the fourth quarter, they're sitting on the sideline yucking it up.
All right, let's go to bigger picture here. This is how I saw what happened last night. I thought Golden State got too cocky and overconfident at halftime, up 13. I think they didn't take this team very seriously in the third quarter, especially a Russell Westbrook, who in the first half was 1 for 8.
He had 2 points, 3 points in the first half.
So Steph is saying, we got this. And you're right. How many times have we seen 13 go to 20, go to 25 with this team, especially in that building? So they took their foot off the gas defensively, especially defensively. They scored 28 in the third quarter, so they were still making some shots. That wasn't the problem. Unfortunately, Oklahoma City scored 38 in the third quarter, and what happened? You realize Russell Westbrook, all the way down to the 7:02 mark of the third quarter, still was cold. And he finally got a three to fall. Remember that?
Yes.
The three fell at 7:02. And from 7:02, over just the next 6 minutes, he scores 19 points. Why is that? Because Russell Westbrook, in the basketball context, has no conscience. He has no memory of what happened before, in a good way. This is no knock on him. He has as green a light as a quarterback of a team as anybody in basketball. So nothing phases him because there's obviously no fear he's going to get yanked, right? Right. For any of that, for blunders, for turnovers, for forced missed shots, he's not going to get yanked. He just keeps playing 1,000 miles an hour. And if you don't play and match the 1,000 miles an hour, he is capable of going on a 19-point binge in 6 minutes a clock. 6 minutes.
But he's a scorer. And when he saw that first three go in, he has the mindset like Steph Curry. Once he saw that first one go in, after all the ones he's missed, he started heating up, and the basket got bigger and bigger
and bigger. The switch just flips, and all of a sudden it's on, full on.
You mentioned something. If you notice, Steph Curry hit like a 27-foot three-pointer as the horn went off in the halftime. So they felt really good. Really good. You saw Kevin Durant head up under the basket. He kind of ducked his head. But you listen to them talk after the game, and you listen at Billy Donovan's halftime speech, he says, we're right where we want to be.
I'm not sure they were buying it, but they sound good after the game.
They bought it.
Okay.
They bought it because if you look in the third quarter when Westbrook came out, Skip, he had a different mindset.
Okay. Now, let's look at the fourth quarter. To my point, it wasn't that Oklahoma City crushed them in the fourth quarter. Oklahoma City actually went cold. Westbrook went cold. He was 1 for 4 in the fourth quarter. Kevin Durant missed 6 straight shots. He was 3 for 12 in the fourth quarter. Think about this. So your big two on Oklahoma City, they didn't do much damage at all in the fourth quarter. But what happened on the other side?
Steph and Clay went cold also.
They went colder than cold. They went shockingly ice cold because Steph in the fourth quarter goes 1 for 6 and 1 for 4 from 3, and Clay goes 0 for 4 and 0 for 4 from 0 for 3 from 3. Okay, 1 for 10 from 3 for the whole team in the fourth quarter. At home, in that building, with that crowd, you shoot 1 for 10, and the 2-time MVP, this time unanimous, stinks it up by his standards. I'm going to go to stinks it up because 1 for 6 in the fourth quarter. And to your point about turnovers, the one thing I do not like about Steph Curry that will undercut his greatness occasionally.
You hate the behind the back, out of bounds.
He gets carelessly cute with his passing. Like, I got this, I'm between the legs, I'm behind the back, and he's throwing it out of bounds, and he's throwing it right to Thunder, and you're saying, what are you doing? What are you thinking? Seriously. Is he not way better than that? So, to me, I'm going to put it on Steph Curry. We praise him like crazy. In fact, we get so bad on this show, we run out of adjectives. Remember this?
That's the truth.
I don't even know what to say about him anymore. So, when he stinks that up in Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals, the way he did 1 for 6, That's on the two-time MVP. I'm sorry, it just is. In the fourth quarter, you got to be better. It wasn't that the Thunder is beating you. You just couldn't figure out how to beat the Thunder. They're actually begging you to do what you've done to them 3 times in the regular season, and you can't pull the trigger.
I'm willing to accept all that behind the back, between the legs, over the shoulder, because of his greatness. I'm going to, just like with Russell Westbrook, you're willing to accept he could possibly go 4 for 28.
Okay.
Because you know the next game he's probably going to go 11 for 22 and have a triple-double. You're going to have to, with greatness, you're willing, because you're saying his greatness is so good, I'm willing to accept some of the things that might be bad in a given moment.
His greatness is better than his badness.
Absolutely.
Sometimes I wonder about that.
No, you don't wonder about that.
I do. And
with Steph?
I have.
With Steph?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I thought you meant with Russell. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I lost you. I lost you. I'm with you on Steph.
Okay.
I agree. I will accept the greatness because there's not that much bad.
Right.
This is rare, what happened last night.
Yes.
Okay, so let's step back and look at the final box score. Kevin Durant shoots 10 for 30.
Will he shoot that bad again?
But that's 30%, am I right?
Absolutely.
Russell Westbrook, for the whole game, shot 7 for 21. That is exactly 30%. Okay, so the big 2 for Oklahoma City, 2 of the best 3 players in the world.
17 of 51.
Okay, that's 30%. That's not great, man. Usually at Oracle, that will get you beaten. That'll get you run out of the gym. That's what I said. Okay, how did they do this? Well, they did win the game at the free throw line, 22-11. Why do you usually shoot more free throws than the other team?
Because you drive the ball to the basket.
Because you're playing harder, you're more aggressive, and after a while, even subconsciously, the refs just say, you know what, I'm going to give you that one because you earned that one with your guts and your drive and your want to on that play.
But Golden State is a jump shooting team, Skip, and for the longest time, it was
Not always. I mean, they drive the ball. I thought they drove it like crazy last night.
When you make 400 threes, they're not layups. Klay Thompson had 280. Those are not layups. But you look at Draymond Green, 9 of 20. I think that's too many shots for Draymond.
And he took some really bad shots.
Harrison Barnes started the game with 3 straight threes. He was 5 of 8. He needs more attempts than that. Take 5 or 6 of those attempts from Draymond, give those to Harrison Barnes.
Yep.
But they really didn't get a whole lot. They didn't get really anything from Iguodala. They didn't get anything from Marcus Spates. They didn't get anything from Barbosa. And their bench is really their strong suit.
It has been. Sean Livingston, nothing.
And OKC's bench outplayed them. Who thought that coming in? Yes, they did.
But not
Dion Waiters?
Huge impact.
What about Dion Waiters?
Was good.
He was huge.
Good.
He was better than anybody else.
Huge. I told you yesterday.
He was better than anybody off of Golden State's bench.
Okay, so in all my time watching Golden State this year, all the games I watched, I don't think I've ever seen them lose their rhythm, their sync, and their flow, and finally their way, the way they did in the second half of this game. Now, I'm going to give credit to Oklahoma City's defense. It's way better than it used to be in the regular season.
Yes.
They have cranked it up. They were turning the screws down on my Spurs, man, on the three-point line. My Spurs couldn't get those usual clean looks that they did.
They were switching everything.
Yeah, they were.
Yes.
And they were doing a really good job last night in the big picture. But this is still Golden State that lost its way. And as Steve Kerr talked about it after the game, it was shocking to me. They just lost their flow of how they got to this point, the ball movement, the unselfishness. It went away. It was like solo act after solo act. And all those shots that we all used to laugh at and say those are quote-unquote bad shots, and they often go in.
Yes.
They weren't going in last night, and guess what they look like? Really bad shots, right? Really bad shots.
But you know what I like most? And Billy Donovan is not getting enough credit for this. I love how he stuck with his big lineup. 3 7-footers on the floor. Durant, Cantor, and Steven Adams. Now, they struggled. Draymond got to the basket a couple of times. They were late getting out to some shots. But he's like, look, we're good with this big lineup. I'm not going to succumb to the pressure and force me to go small like you. Because it's like, at the end of the day, if this big lineup remains effective, maybe Steve Kerr is going to have to go to a Zealy and Bogut. He's going to have to go to a big lineup because they're going to start pounding them on the boards. Because if you miss shots, you're not going to get no second chance points against that big lineup.
I don't know this for a fact, but from what it looked like to me last night, Bogut is not healthy. so they had to pull him at some point. I think he's got a groin issue and a knee issue, but he just didn't look right. And they didn't play him all that much. He played 17 minutes.
Did he play the second half? I don't even know if he played the second half.
I'd have to look it up here, but I don't think he played much.
Yeah.
So they weren't fighting fire with fire, and they might not be able to. Maybe Billy Donovan's smelling a little blood there. I'm going to go big, 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 because you only have one big, and you don't trust Azili anywhere like you trust Bogut, right?
Because they went to the hacker Azili, and they ended up having to take him out and put Mo Spates in, and Mo Spates didn't really give him anything, and, you know, he has three-point capability. So what do you do? If Bogut is hurt, and you can only run Azili and Spates out there with that big lineup, Skip, they can't bang the boards with those big guys.
Well, I'm going to say one good thing, because we're going to talk about what Steven Adams said after the game, and that's our next topic up. But I want to give him props. He has really emerged as a force in these playoffs. I got to say, from a basketball perspective,
for a guy that's
changing the game.
He's a double-double machine for a guy that you run no plays for.
You run no plays, and he plays as hard at his position as Russell Westbrook plays at his.
Absolutely.
Every second of every possession, he is scrapping, fighting, pushing, pulling.
Yes.
And again, he's a little bit of you know, a villain, if you will. But he's got some of that going. He plays to the villainous. But still, he's a really good basketball player.
He is.
Because he's agile. He's fairly quick. He can run the floor. Like, he can actually run for his size.
But let's be realistic. If you're a big man and you play with KD and Russell Westbrook, how many plays can you get called for you? They were 17 or 51 last night. Now, we don't expect them to be that bad.
The best play gets called for him is he goes, picks for Russell, and then he rolls and he gets the lob.
We don't expect them to be 17 or 51, but we do expect them to put up 51 shot attempts. They might be 25, 28 or 51. But so he's not going to get any plays. He does a great job of picking the ball off the rim. So
are you ready to revise your prediction? Are you going to go to Golden State in 7?
No, I'm not like you, Skip. I'm not
like me. I never. I'm the most stubborn picker you'll ever know.
I don't know how they're going to win. Like, I don't even give them a game.
I didn't say that.
You said OKC would not barely get a game.
I said they'd win in 5. I said Golden State in 5. Now, I tweeted that. We didn't show that yet.
No, we're going to get into that later.
So you're still sticking by 5?
Heck yes. I picked it in 5. Now, I tweeted, we'll get to this.
But it'd be tough.
Okay, I tweeted in the 4th quarter of my Spurs loss, and I'm like out of my mind.
We're done with the Spurs. Oh, the producer said, oh, that's a wrap.
Okay.
He didn't actually say that.
Let me finish what I'm saying.
Yeah,
let me finish what I'm saying.
Give us your bottom line.
I tweeted what you said.
Yes.
I'm not sure that Thunder can win a game against Golden State in the throes of my misery in the 4th quarter of my Spurs loss in Game 6.
Yes.
Okay? But I picked it in 5, just for the record.
But you're sticking with that?
Heck yes, I'm sticking.
Okay.
Of course he is.
Okay.
He'll never change.
I never change.
And speaking of the 4th quarter, that was the lowest for Golden State in the playoffs, putting up those 13 points since 2013 against your Spurs, who were banned from talking about